Hi, I'm Francesc Campoy, and this is Just for Funk. Welcome to episode number 26 of Just for Funk, and a very happy new year to you all. Today we're going to be answering a question that, even though seems pretty simple, answering requires some code and a lot of thinking. The question got to me through Twitter and is pretty simple. Are nil channels actually useful? Or are they just for completion? We need a zero value for channels, right? So it makes sense that they're nil, because somehow they're pointers inside. But are they actually useful? Today we're going to be answering that. That sounds some fun? Let's get started. Okay, so the problem we're going to try to solve is the problem of merging of two channels. So let me explain what this is. You're given two different channels of type channel of integers, let's say, and you're going to be receiving from both of them, and every single time you receive from one of those channels, you're going to send the value into a third channel. So basically merging of those two channels into an extra channel. The two input channels, one output channel. Once the two channels are closed, you should close the output channel. How do we do that? Sounds pretty easy. Let's try to get started. So I'm going to start with my function main, and in order to be able to test this correctly, I'm going to create an auxiliary function. I'm going to call it asChan, that given let's say 1, 3, 5, 7, it's going to return a channel from which you can read those values, and then after that it will be closed. So I'm going to have asChan of 2, 4, 6, 8, and then for now, let's just call 1 and iterate over all of the values of that channel and then print the value. So asChan is going to be something that, given a bunch of values that are integers, it's going to return a channel of integers. And it's a channel of integers from which I only want to allow people to receive things from, so it's going to be like this. That arrow coming out of the channel means that it's something you can only read from, not send values onto or close the channel itself. So it's going to create the channel and return it at the end. And in between, we're going to start a new coroutine, and this is the one that is going to be handling those values. So we're going to iterate over the values, and for every value, we're going to send it to C, and then at the end, we will close C too. Cool. So this is not happy. VS. Okay. So this, now if we print this, if we call this, we should get something that 1, 3, 5, 7, and then it closes. Cool. So that looks pretty good. So now we're going to get also B, and then C is going to be the result of calling merge A and B. And what we want is for this to print something like 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then finish, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't really know in what order they're going to be printed, and that's okay. In order to make prompts more apparent, I'm also going to add a little delay here. So I'm going to do time.sleep. Let's say something random. So random.int10 to 1000. I want that as time.duration, sorry. And I want to not happy with what? Intent. Okay. So and that's gonna be multiplied by a millisecond. So we're gonna be waiting, we're gonna be sleeping for somewhere in between 0 and 1 second. Okay, so if we run that again, we should, that will not work anymore. Let's just make sure that this still works. So 1, 3, 5, 7, but you see now it's sleeping a little bit in between, which is exactly what we wanted. So let's go back to the code we had before. There you go. Okay, so now we need to implement merge. So merge is going to be a function that, given two channels from which we can only read, so it's going to be channel of integers, is going to return a channel from which you can only read. And how are we going to do this? Well, first we're going to create it as we did for the askChan, we're gonna return C, and the same way, we're gonna create a new go routine, and this is the one that is going to handle what goes into the channels. So now we want to receive from both A and B at the same time, right? How do we handle that? Well, the best way to do it is with select. So we're gonna do a select statement. In one case is gonna be, we're gonna receive something from A. Another case is gonna be, we're going to receive something from B. And we need to do this many times actually. So we're gonna do that inside of an infinite loop. So what do we do when we receive a value from A? We send it to C. And same for B, we also send it to C. Okay, so now we have something that kind of look like it works. So let's try to run it. So go run min.go. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and then a bunch of zeros, like lots of them. Lots of them. So what is going on? Well, the problem is that when we're receiving from A, once the channel has been closed, we start receiving zeros, right? So we could do something like, oh, if this is a 0, then it means that we should not print it anymore. But there's a better way of doing this, which is instead of doing V equals the result of receiving, you can do V comma OK is the result of receiving from a channel. And then this OK is a Boolean that will be true as long as the channel is open. It will be false once it's been closed. So if not OK, then we should not send the value. And actually, we should say that A is done. And continue, and something similar here. So V, okay. If not okay, B done is true, and continue. And then A done and B done are false and false. And for A, so as long as A is not done or B is not done, we're gonna continue. Right, so now we basically tracking when a channel is closed, and then we update a boolean, and once both channels are done, we actually exit. So let's try with that. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and deadlock. Okay, why? Well, the same way A and B at some point they close, we should also close C, and we are not doing that. So to avoid random problems, we're just going to do it here. Defer close of C. It's important that we're doing that closing of C here and not on line 20 here, because if you did it up there, then the channel will be closed as soon as we exit the merge function, which is way too early, right? So make sure that that defer statement is in the good function. Okay, so let's run again. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and it finishes. Cool. Is that good? Well, no. There's a couple more problems. Actually, there's just one problem repeated twice. So how do we fix this? Actually, how do you even detect that it is a problem? So the problem is that if you see the behavior of this program, the performance is pretty bad. It uses a lot of CPU as soon as one of the channels is closed. We can see that quite simply by probably using the runtime tracer. You should check the episode that I did on that, which I do not remember which one it was, but check it out. There's one of the episodes that I did which is about the runtime tracer. But otherwise, we can just simply log something. So A done, A is done, and B is done. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8. Okay, did you see all of the A is done? There's a lot of them. What is going on here? Well, the problem now is that once A is done, this operation here, receiving from A, will never block, right? It will always return something, it will always return 0 and false, which is okay because we're checking that and we're not sending the value, but we're actually wasting a lot of CPU. Once we've received an false here, we're done with that case. We don't want to check it ever again, right? But how do we even disable a case operation in a select statement? Well, turns out that there's a very nice way to do this. So let me create another file that I'm going to call foo.go. And this one, what we're going to do is simply create a channel of integers and try to receive from C. and see what happens. Okay, so this is a deadlock. It locks forever, right? So receiving from a nil channel blocks forever. In the same way, sending anything into a nil channel blocks forever. And finally, for completion, if we close a nil channel, you also get a nil panic saying close of nil channel. So you cannot send anything to a nil channel, you can receive anything from a nil channel, and when you close it, it panics. And still, I'm saying it's very useful. Why? Well, if we go back to our code, instead of doing these checks, what we can do is simply say, instead of saying a done equals true, we can say a is nil. Now, when we set a to nil, the next time we try to do this, that will block forever, which means that we have successfully disabled this case in the select statement, which is really cool. We're gonna do the same thing on this other side, so b equals nil. And to finish, we can drop those booleans, because here now we can do if a is not nil or b is not nil, which is equivalent, and now we have something better. So let's run it. Not foo, but main. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. A is done, B is done, we are done. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was a pretty different episode, you know, new year, new me, and trying to make justforfunc as interactive as possible. So send me more questions. Is there something that surprises you of Go, that's something that you want to know more about? I'll be really happy to answer this. In the meanwhile, also keep on sending me more code, because I'm working on a couple of code reviews that will be coming soon. So, as always, thanks for watching, please subscribe, and see you all in 2 weeks.